Stuff to do. Watch things on TV. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the U.S. Open enters round 2. Trevor Lawrence gets a big new deal, and Brian Windhorst joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Florida Panthers going up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final against Edmonton, beating the Oilers 4-3 last night in Edmonton. Edmonton got 35 shots on goal and scored more than they had in the previous 2 games, but still fell short. Wilbon, has all Oilers' hope been extinguished in your mind?
I think yes. In my mind, Tony, yes. Even though I realize once in the Stanley Cup final, that was like 80-plus years ago, a team was able to come back from down 3-0 and win. And then we've seen several other times. It's not like the NBA where it's 0 for 150-plus. Not even like baseball where it's once in 150 years. This happens in the NHL. But here's my problem, Tony. You look at Edmonton, and we talk about them being top-heavy. But if they're top-heavy, it's some top. Because you got McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent, Hopkins, even Broussard defensively. Those 5 guys haven't scored a goal. And I realize McDavid's got some assists, but when those 5 guys are shut out for 3 games in the Stanley Cup final, come on, man. I mean, Bobrovsky and that defense, I know the defense in front of him is good, but Bobrovsky, he made some saves last night that, that game could have loosened up early, and they certainly could have caught him late. So, yes, all seems kind of hopeless for Edmonton to me.
I think it is Bouchard, by the way. Just correct me.
What did I say? Broussard?
Because you were not a French major. You said Broussard.
No, I
anyway,
was not
look,
a French major.
It feels like a sweep to me. Boston feels like a sweep over Dallas to me, but I'm wary of the fact that, Luka Doncic could have the greatest game of his life and they could win that.
Right.
But Florida is significantly better at the moment than Edmonton. And we had PK Subban on yesterday, and this was his quote: "No holes. They have no holes." Their defense has thwarted one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the league. They're top 5 guys. They don't have any goals. The star so far is Bobrovsky. Now, you could maybe look at this if you're an optimist with Edmonton and you say, well, they got to him late in the 3rd period, so maybe they figured him out. But a realist would say it was a 4-1 game and he relaxed a little bit. I think I have this correct. It went in my ear today that through the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup final, he's got the greatest save percentage of all time, right? .984. So what are we talking about? Mike, I'll be very brief. They learned a lesson last year when they were in the finals. Florida did, and they're better now.
They got popped. They're better now. Boston 2 years ago, to continue that analogy with the NBA and the Celtics, they got popped 2 years ago. They're better now. There's something to the point of getting experience. If you've got mature, great players who are well coached, this can happen. We're going to move now to the 2nd round of the United States Open. A lot of golfers are still out on the course, but among those who have finished, Thomas Dietrich shot 67, sits at 4 under. Bryson DeChambeau shot 69, 4 under. Rory gave back 2 strokes, but he's still at 3 under. And Scottie Scheffler shot 4 over 74 for those who didn't want to take the field, and he's +5, dancing with the cut line. Tony, I know you've been watching every shot. Your reaction to all this is what?
Well, I haven't been watching every shot. I got up again at 7 in the morning to watch every shot, and it was not on regular cable. It was on a streaming service. And I would just say that the championship of the United States of America should be available to everybody in the United States, but I digress. The headline of all the things you said is going to be Scottie Scheffler if he does not make the cut. He did not play well yesterday. He played less well today. I was very, very surprised to learn that until he got to Pinehurst on Monday to play a practice round, he had never been to the course. He'd never seen it. It is very much uniquely different than most other courses, and I don't think that helped him. But I will say this about the leaderboard, Mike. It's very eclectic and it's very international. I assume the leaderboard is the same that I saw just a little while ago. You have a Belgian in Dietrich, a Frenchman in Pavon, a Swede in Oberg, who looks great for a kid, Northern Irishman, McIlroy, Japanese player Matsuyama, Sergio, a Spaniard, is up there, and you've got a couple of Americans. You got DeChambeau, who I have come to like, and Cantlay. So it's a very interesting leaderboard in that regard.
It is an interesting leaderboard, Tony. I couldn't stream in my hotel. If I was at home, I do have Peacock to go back to that for a moment. And this sort of is important.
Good for you.
I woke up and I'm like, okay, I got USA Network. That's what the first round was. Let me start watching at 7:30. Oh, wait. I'm not downloading the Peacock app and dealing with passwords, in the hotel room. So I had to wait until whatever it was, noon Central, 1 Eastern. But like you, Tony, I like the fact that the leaderboard is just very diverse. I mean, whatever your personal interests are, and I still got, a couple of guys sort of in the race. Finau, I think, was at 2 under when I turned off, and Morikawa was around even. And so, but look, Tony, I struggle. I know you love Pinehurst number 2. I don't.
Love it. Look at it behind me.
Everybody's not obliged to love Pinehurst or any single golf course, as beautiful as it may be. And I look at it, I don't want to see people,
don't need you.
Back and forth, putting off the green and chipping it across and bunker shots that are well played, rolling. I don't want to see that.
One of the great moments today. Just stop. Because one of the great moments today was when Rory putted off the green and then chipped in for a par. And that was a great moment. And by the way, it's going to get harder on the weekend.
I know.
Whatever the score is today that's leading, it's going the other way. Let's move to football. The Jacksonville Jaguars just gave their quarterback Trevor Lawrence a new 5-year deal that will pay him $275 million with $200 million guaranteed. Lawrence's average yearly salary will be $55 million, tied for the most in the NFL with Joe Burrow. Wilbon, you loved Lawrence in college.
Yes,
loved him.
I did.
Now he will be paid like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But has he convinced you he is one of the best?
No, I loved him in college. I like him now. I haven't fallen in love with him at the NFL level. I haven't fallen in love with him on Sundays. And there's one primary reason. And I believe that Doug Peterson, his coach, is the guy to sort of get the best out of him. I still believe that. But, Tony, he led, I think, the NFL in turnovers last season with 21 or 22. So can that be quieted? Yes, it can. But we're also reminded, Tone, of what happens when you get a quarterback you want to hold on to. And you know you do, and you don't want to make it like Kirk Cousins. You got to pay him $50 million or more. And unlike the then Redskins, I guess they were still the Redskins then. And then the Vikings, you go, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to do this. The Jaguars decided they do want to do this. Has he proven it? No. Are they investing in him? Yes. And it is a wise investment. We're going to see. We're going to know really by like Thanksgiving, I think.
So my feeling is, and I'm glad you mentioned Doug Peterson, that ownership must have gone to him and said, look, you're an offensive guy. You've won a Super Bowl. Is this the guy you want? And undoubtedly he said, yes, this is the guy that he wants. We would agree, I hope, that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. On the next strata for me, I got Joe Burrow, I got Lamar Jackson, I got Aaron Rodgers when he's healthy. I might have Dak Prescott, I might have C.J. Stroud, I certainly have Josh Allen, maybe Tua. We could argue I'm leaving a couple of guys off. Maybe I'm leaving Hurts off. Maybe I'm leaving Goff off. Maybe I'm leaving Cousins off. But I'm not mentioning Lawrence. I'm not
yet.
Because I haven't seen in the NFL what you and I both saw at Clemson. I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
and
Tony, he had a flash
badly last year.
Yeah, but he had a flash
his last 4 games, Mike, he had 2 years ago. No, he had a good stretch for 17 games, but he closed last year. He was in the last 4 games he played, he had 7 picks and he lost all the games. So both of us have to see something more. Got to see more. Let's take a break.
Too many turnovers.
Coming up with Luka Doncic, change his approach towards defense and refereeing. We're going to ask Brian Windhorst.
Better change something tonight. We'll also ask Brian what he's seen in the growth of Jaylen Brown. I want
you to come with me to Pinehurst, Mike. Come with me. We'll get in the wiregrass. We'll get in the schmutz. We'll hit it out. It's going to be great fun.
Yeah.
The Celtics can win the NBA title in Dallas tonight, which is where we find our great friend, ESPN senior NBA writer, Brian Windhorst. Let's start with this. You were critical, and I believe correctly critical, of Luka after Game 3 for fouling a lot and whining about the calls. He has since said that he's apologized to his teammates. What did you hear or not hear in his remarks yesterday?
I mean, in all honesty, he's said this many, many times before. The running joke in Dallas is that this is his monthly apology. The reason guys, that I was so kind of fired up about that is that I have been to multiple games, mostly internationally, where he plays for Slovenia, where he's been unable to finish the game because he loses his just completely loses his cool. I was at a game in Manila, the Philippines last year, when at the World Cup where Slovenia was trying to qualify for the Olympics, and he completely lost it with the officials, got ejected from the game, and was screaming at the FIBA Secretary General on the way off the court in Spanish, which was wild. I was at a game in Tokyo where he was playing to try to get to the gold medal game, and he completely lost his cool with the officials in that game. He ended up apologizing to FIBA, but the apologies don't matter if it doesn't change. And look, he's never going to be a good defender. And I understand that sometimes he plays better defense than not, and sometimes he's going to get cooked defensively. That's fine. He makes up for it offensively. What is very hard to tolerate, which is in a high-stakes game, that he, A, gives up points because he's complaining with officials, and B, doesn't finish the game. This has literally been happening for years. I've watched it at the highest level for years. And so for Luka to have that happen in a vitally important NBA Finals game, when this has happened many, many times when he should have learned from it, is eminently frustrating. And trust me, I may have been the one articulating it, but I was not the only person in Dallas that felt that way.
You are not the only person that feels that way at all, Brian. And so my follow-up is this, and it's Luka related. Do we think, from the people that you know around him and the people in the Dallas organization, is there a feeling that he will do what's necessary physically and, more importantly, perhaps emotionally, to become a truly great player? Because he has everything in terms of skill set to be one of the great players of all time in this league, in the world. But, Brian, is there discipline within him? Do the people around him think he can actually do it?
I don't know if anybody has the answer. I would just say that he has made incremental progress in this area throughout his career. He has, in some seasons, come in better condition. He has, at times this year, even earlier in this playoffs, I actually thought he was defending reasonably well. By his standards, he was defending great. I thought his emotions were kept in check the previous couple of series. And so there have been times where they thought that he was there, matching with his incredible talent, but he keeps having these setbacks. This has been going on literally since he was a teenager. People were going and scouting him when he was a teenager, and they were seeing him lose control with the officials at age 16 playing in pro games. So yeah, he's still young at 25, but he's like a decade into doing this at a high level. So everybody here in Dallas loves him. They know that they're not here without him. They know he's been awesome, but to reach the highest level, this is continuing to hold him back. And I hope that we get to a place where it doesn't hold him back anymore. But again, it's been going on for a big part of his life now. And so that's where the worrisome thing is that all of the apologies and the promises to do better continue to ring hollow when in the most important game of your career, you get disqualified with 4 minutes to play.
We'll transition, because one player who nothing is holding back is the Celtics' Jaylen Brown, who has evolved, quite progressively and continually to get to this point. What's Jaylen Brown showing you in this series, Brian? And of course, it includes his opposing coach saying he's the best player on the other team.
Yeah, that was a whole interesting little sidelight earlier in this series, but he has grown so much emotionally. Certainly the way he now operates under stressful situations compared to where he was 2 years ago, he's sort of completely different. He's so much evolved in that regard. One of the things that's happened this year that I don't even think that the Celtics could have predicted, when they traded Marcus Smart, who was really one of the vocal leaders of the team, it left a void, obviously, and Jaylen Brown has moved into that void. We have heard him on the microphones throughout the playoffs, how he's a calming and leadership voice throughout the games. He certainly is that way off the court as well. And George Sedano, who is one of our reporters who's doing radio for this series, he's allowed to stand in the Celtics huddles. And he was describing to me what it was like seeing Jaylen Brown lead in, going down the stretch of Game 3, and the things that he was saying in those huddles, one of which was like, guys, it's time to graduate. This is our moment where we graduate. And I couldn't have put it better myself if I sat at a keyboard for a half hour. That is exactly what I feel like he is doing and the Celtics team is doing. And if you go back and watch Jaylen Brown from 2 years ago when he was in tight, stressful situations, you weren't sure whether he was going to dribble the ball literally out of bounds off his foot. He made some decisions that made you wonder if he was ever going to get it. Now he does look like he's graduating, frankly, with a doctorate, and this time it's going to come with a ring.
We get you out of here on this, and you got to be very, very brief. You got 10 seconds or less. What chance do you give the Mavericks of winning tonight, Brian?
Well, I'm not confident because they really haven't come close to winning even one game yet. But I will say this. I just saw Kristaps Porzingis come into the arena, and he was being driven on a golf cart. Certainly nothing official, but I observed with my own 2 eyes.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Myself.
See you in a few.
Fabulous appearance.
Take care, guys.
Yeah. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Ranger Suarez goes for his 11th win of the season tonight in the middle of June. Will he get it?
And Tony, the Euro Championships are underway. Yes, sir. You going to join me? You going to watch?
I'm not, but I think it's in safe hands with you. So you're not going to watch Copa America. You're going to watch the Euros instead.
No,
right?
I'm going to watch Copa America too. I'm going to watch Copa America.
That's 10 days from now. Okay. Happy time, people. Happy 24th birthday, Bobby Witt Jr. The Kansas City shortstop signed a huge contract over the winter. He's getting $288.8 million to keep him in Kansas City for the next 11 years. At that point, the Royals can add 3 more years for $89 million, making the total value $377 million. So how is Witt performing so far? He's batting .330, first in all of baseball. His 50 RBI are tied for 4th in the American League. He leads that league in hits with 93 and in runs scored with 58. His OPS is .937. Plus, the Royals are 10 games over 500. The last time they finished over 500 was 2015. So Witt looks like a great buy. His father, Bobby Witt Sr., pitched 16 seasons, had a career record of 142 and 157 for 7 teams, mainly Texas.
Is there any fear, though, that he could be Mike Trout, part 2? You know, I mean, the Royals, the Angels, I mean, you don't know. I mean, it looks like they're building something and they're in a division that can be had. The Royals are.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, you can be great, and I don't want him to be irrelevant. I want to see him play in October. That's when it matters.
Happy anniversary, Phil Jackson. On this day 15 years ago, with the Lakers' 99-86 win over Orlando, Jackson collected his 10th title and passed Red Auerbach for the most coaching championships in NBA history. Jackson has 13 rings overall, 2 as a player on the Knicks and 11 for coaching the Bulls and Lakers. Auerbach had 9 titles as Celtics coach, but 7 more as an executive there. Bill Russell had 11 as a player, his last 2 as player-coach in Boston. Sam Jones, 10 as a player. K.C. Jones, 8 as a player, 2 more as Celtics coach. Jerry West had 1 as a player, 8 more as an executive. Pat Riley, 1 as a player, 5 as a coach, 2 more as an executive. Steve Kerr quietly has 9, Mike. 5 as a player with the Bulls and Spurs, 4 as coach of the Warriors.
Yeah, well, I know where they each, Jackson and Kerr, got a ring. 26 years ago today in Salt Lake City, when Michael Jeffrey Jordan hit a shot. Brian Russell, have some of this on your way to the locker room. Nice no call, the proper call. Basket, Bulls win.
Yeah, offensive foul. Happy trails to last night's game for the Dodgers. Veteran Rangers reliever David Robertson not only struck out the Dodgers' murderer's row of Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman in the same inning Wednesday night to help Texas beat the Dodgers. Last night, the 39-year-old did it again. He struck out Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman in the 8th inning to help preserve a 3-1 win. Robertson struck out the 3 of them on 11 pitches. Prior to these last 2 games, he'd never even gotten Freeman out, 4 for 4 and a walk. Wow. Texas manager Bruce Bochy called Robertson's performance, quote, a huge deal. 2 nights in a row. He's got to go through them again, unquote.
By the way, Tone, a trails to even ex-White Sox is struggling. Jose Abreu, released by the Astros. He was the MVP in 2020. It's just like, wow, what happened? Where'd the time go? And where'd the performance go?
Quick. Euro Championships are underway. You're excited, right?
Yes, Germany beat Scotland 5-1 in the opener. Wow, what a start. Athletic Reports Conference USA, the American Conference of Mountain West, all exploring the sale of naming rights. Make sense?
Got to get money to pay the players. Aces beat the Mercury to snap their 3-game losing streak. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Asia Wilson had 32 last night, 25 or more, 8 consecutive games. She pulled them out of it. Wade Phillips coaches for the UFL Championship this weekend. Is that significant?
Yeah, he's older than I am. I want to see him win. Last one, Philly starter Ranger Suarez goes for his 11th win tonight. Do you like his chances?
No, he's going against the O's, who are the only team right now who may be the equal of the Phillies.
I don't know. I think the Yankees maybe. They may be.
Yeah,
a lot
the
of
Yankees
time.
are too.
We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
Maybe the Dodgers too. There's a few teams. I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcast. Countdown tonight. Here's SportsCenter.
They want to start with Dak. They've put it on the table with Dak's people that, hey, look, you're a priority. We want to try to get something done. As far as hard dollars, not a lot of progress yet. I would describe their efforts so far as passive, but it's a long summer. Got 6 weeks before training camp. We'll see if they can shake it out. And then Jordan Love with the Packers. So he got hot late last year. The feeling there in Green Bay is that this is their future. They want to get this done. And there's some pressure on the GM, Brian Gutekunst, because of the Aaron Rodgers situation, how it ended there. They want this to probably be a little cleaner. Let's get something done with Jordan Love. The market has spoken. $50 million is really just a starting point, even though he doesn't have a ton of experience, just the 1 full year as a starter. But they would like to get something done before training camp starts in late July. So the clock is now ticking.
We always talk about it. You need a little leverage, and for Love, well, he was second in the NFL in passing touchdowns behind only the aforementioned Dak Prescott.
Talk about QB1s too. A storyline heading into Vikings minicamp is that the brass there have coined Sam Darnold as QB1 going into that. What does that now mean, how they will handle J.J. McCarthy, the 10th overall pick in this last draft progression?
Well, the Vikings feel like, Gary, this is an ideal situation for them. They believe Sam Darnold can not only play this year and the entire year, but play successfully and ball out. He was pretty coveted in free agency. Denver was among the teams that was looking hard at trying to sign Darnold. Vikings gave him a 1-year, $10 million contract, which, to be clear, is a bridge deal. He's not making huge starter money, but it's enough to say that they have some confidence in him. J.J. McCarthy, the feeling around the league going into the draft from scouts is that the upside is huge, probably could use a year. Even though he came from a pro-style Michigan system, needs to learn the nuances of the game, didn't throw the ball a lot. He's going to have to get used to a high-volume throwing situation. So they would love, in a perfect world, for him to get a year to do that.
Sure. 10th overall pick. He's going to have to wait, but not wait long, especially after spending that draft capital. Darnold started 1 game for the 49ers last season in a Week 18 loss to the Rams. That's Jeremy Fowler. New suit goofing today on SportsCenter.
A little Merlot action, you know?
There's someone at home Googling, what does that mean?
Tall glass of wine, that's what. Other stories we're following today, Conor McGregor. He's hurt, so had to withdraw from his comeback fight against Michael Chandler at UFC 303 on June 29th. McGregor, who's 35 years young, has not fought since 2021. The Astros have released 2020 MVP Jose Abreu after a brutal start to his season. He's hitting 124 with 2 homers, 7 RBI. Even went down to the minors to try and work on his swing. It didn't work. He's in the second year of a 3-year, $58 million deal. U.S. Open favorite and world number 1 Scottie Scheffler so unhappy at the 18 at Pinehurst, he slammed his driver. Struggled to a 74 today and is 5 over after 2, right below the projected cut. And in college hoops, Coleman Hawkins committed to Kansas State after playing at Illinois last year. He averaged 12 points and 6 rebounds per game and declared for the NBA draft before pulling out.
Still to come on SportsCenter. New comments from Justin Herbert. How Jim Harbaugh's unique leadership style and championship experience is helping the Chargers focus on playoff aspirations. Plus, how Jaylen Brown's growth this season is helping the Celtics close in on their long-awaited 18th NBA title. And how should this Luka as an NBA superstar? The NBA Countdown crew is live when SportsCenter continues next.
With your head coach. And kind of like I mentioned, he fully expects to win. So whether we're pulling sleds, he expects to be the fastest or to pull it the furthest. And when we're carrying those med balls, he's wanting to go the furthest. He wants to go the fastest. And to have a guy like that set the stage, set the standard, for these undrafted guys, for these rookies, to see that, I think they follow in his footsteps. He's a competitor. He's done such a great job taking this team and getting them to where he wants them to go. He's won wherever he's at. He's a guy that everyone wants to follow and play for. So we're really excited to get to play for him.
LA went 5-12 last season to finish last in the division. But with the addition of Harbaugh, the Chargers are the second favorite at plus 350 behind 8-time division champ Kansas City. Under Harbaugh from 2011 to 14, the 49ers, they won 2 division titles in 4 seasons.
As promised, Jeremy Fowler back with us on SportsCenter. You saw Herbert there, all smiles, talking about his new head ball coach in Harbaugh. What have you heard coming out of Chargers camp about Harbaugh's impact right now?
Yeah, gee, the Harbaugh vibes are immense right now because, as you can imagine, he's his own personality, and he has brought that. So I've talked to some people in the building. They said that he's out there doing drills with the players, trying not only to do the drills, but to beat them in, rope drills or carrying medicine balls, whatever you want to do, out there in his khakis, getting it done. And then he actually has tried to incorporate really everybody in the building in the football operation. I was told that he does like a message after practices with people from the business office or people from public relations will go and actually talk to the entire team in the huddle. So he's trying to cultivate a certain environment. And while he's doing all this, he's trying to usher Justin Herbert into a new offense that is expected to be more run heavy. I'm told that it's been seamless so far. He's still making ridiculous throws. They've done mostly passing concepts in OTAs and minicamp. They'll get to the run heavy stuff in camp, but so far so good for Herbert.
It's in Los Angeles, so this is when I know the team has full buy-in. Do you think he'll get them to drink dairy milk like Harbaugh does and enjoys? Probably.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're doing like an espresso with some milk.
There it is. Just a splash.
Froth it up, then everybody will drink it.
Just a splash, guys. It's okay. It's not going to kill you. Jeremy Fowler back with us on SportsCenter.
Oh, Mavericks fans going to need something a little stronger than milk if they get swept on their own floors. We get ready for Game 4. The fans are smiling for now. Let's give them something to smile about, huh, Mavs? I don't care who wins. I just would like for it to go a little bit longer. So there it is. You talk about facing elimination, which of course is exactly what we're going to see tonight for the Mavericks. And Luka's done well with his back against the wall. He's played in 6 elimination games in his career. He's averaged 35 points per game in those contests. That's the most points per game of any player facing elimination in NBA history. However, his defense has been an issue in this series. According to Second Spectrum, the Celtics are blowing by Doncic on drives 68% of the time. That'd be the highest blow-by percentage allowed on drives by a single defender in any playoff series in the last 10 years. What a blow. Here's NBA Countdown and Malika Andrews.
Elle, thank you so very much. You see those Boston Celtics fans? They are feeling pretty good right now. Their team is 7-0 on the road this postseason and 1 win away from hanging that illustrious banner, number 18. But you're talking about Luka Doncic. We want to dive a little bit further into that alongside Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, Paul George, Michael Wilbon. So, PG, I want to start with you here. I'd like to talk about Luka, but you played him in the first round at this Dallas Mavericks team. What's different in the Luka we're seeing now and the Luka you faced then?
The Luka we faced put a ton of more effort on the defensive side. I mean, you saw times after he got stopped, he was celebrating, he was fist bumping. It was just a lot more energy towards that end, to where you don't see that now in the finals. And the Celtics are going at him. They're targeting him the same way he likes to target the other team's worst defender. And so it's really making him work hard, and you see he's been in foul trouble.
So because of that, has your perception, Stephen A., changed of Luka in these finals?
No, not at all. He's still a superstar in this game. Obviously, he's a liability defensively, and he has been that way for most of his career. I'm going to tell you what I noticed that I don't think anybody has brought up. We talk about the greatness of Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has been picking up Luka and guarding him since the opening tap of the NBA Finals. And when he makes a good defensive play against Luka, he's talking to him. He's talking to Luka the way Luka was talking to Minnesota, the way Luka was talking against OKC. Jaylen Brown is in his face. Jaylen Brown is letting them know he ain't the only superstar on this basketball court. And the Boston Celtics are letting them know they've been the superior team.